Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies in their diapers, welcome to the Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.
That's me, Tiberius.
Today, we're going to talk about some very awesome stuff. We have a video about mining a planet, a book about how to be an imposter, and we have a totally awesome guest. Today we have the one, the only, the amazing Jeff Akin. Well, Jeff is a wrestling TV broadcaster turned into a leadership coach. He teaches leadership with Star Trek.
And Tiberius, I'm so excited to be here. And seriously, Tiberius, Star Trek? Dude, this is great.
Well, today we're going to start off with the video game of the week, and this is going to be a mine.
And now it's time for the video game of the week.
Today's video game is Planet Mining Simulator. This game is made by Zood Studios. Because it's on Roblox, you are able to play it on PC, Mac, Xbox, and even your cell phone. And it is free. You may remember Zood Studios from their other games, Heli Rush and Zombie Defense Tycoon. So, first off, when you start the game, they offer you two options between high performance if you have a PC or low performance if you're on a cell phone. Now, you walk into a large mine that is shared for all the players to use. You get a vacuum to do the mining, and you have a backpack. As you go mining, the ground is lost below you, and you can find stuff like stone and coal. You get to research what you find, and it makes it more valuable to sell it. So, after you sell it, you can buy upgraded backpacks which hold more stuff or vacuum that mines faster.
Sounds cool.
There are a lot of places where you can spend real money. And, well, you know we don't suggest spending any real money without your parents' permission first. This game has a lot of ways to accidentally spend real money, so you need to be careful.
I agree. You do not want to spend money without asking your parents. Double down from Jeff on that one.
Well, I give Planet Mining Simulator 7 out of 10 stars because I really enjoy doing the mining, but it is annoying to keep getting the pop-ups to purchase upgrades with real money. Like get 10 free extra pet slots and stuff like that. Like get these, dark matter vacuums and stuff.
That sounds like it could be fun.
Yeah.
See David Smith Law.com.
You can call him at 407-801-2667.
Wait, you are not Chuck.
My dad can help when people get hurt. He loves to help people.
If you are ever injured at work or in a car accident, you should call my friend Chuck.
You can call him at 407-801-2667.
The website again is cwsmithlaw.com.
Offices, Orlando.
Does it actually have that much W's?
And now it's time for the book of the week, The Imposter's Guide to Among Us. This book was written by Kevin Pittman. Let me to the back of the book. In fact, Jeff, would you like to read it?
I'd love to. Let's see here. Psst. You want to take down the crew and get away with it? This unofficial Among Us guide has everything you need to be the world's best imposter. Plus, it is full of essential tips for crew members on how to spot imposters and stay alive. This is the complete guide for Among Us players everywhere.
Cool. So first off, this is not an AR book, so you don't get any points for reading it. But it is a book about Among Us, and I really have been looking forward to learning more about it. So I played this game a lot. Okay, so first the book explains what to do as a crewmate and how you can catch imposters faking tasks and other stuff. But this is critical if you want to help your crew survive. Then it turns the table and then tells you what to do as an imposter.
I don't know, Tiberius. Sounds kind of sus.
A little bit sauce. So the book shows us each of the maps of the game and which sabotage is better for each map, when you should lock down doors or when is it good to turn off all the lights. Also, it lets you know the best time to use the vents and how to get away quickly after you remove someone from play. It is important not to fake any visual tasks, since that will let people know that you are an imposter. It also gives you tips on how to talk during the voting to avoid getting noticed.
I could always use some tips on talking whether I want to get noticed or not.
Well, you should probably have this book.
That's funny, Tiberius. You should
You have
laugh.
to pay me $9. I'm kidding. Well, I give The Imposter's Guide to Among Us 10 out of 10 stars because, well, first, I get to play Among Us with my friends. Obviously, they're obsessed with Among Us. But it was a lot of fun to read this book.
Mid-State Fire has been providing top-quality fire equipment services for 3 generations to the Central Florida area. Don't wait for an emergency to repair. Call Mid-State Fire today at 407-246-8855. Get your fire extinguishers and emergency lighting for both your home and businesses by visiting www.midstatefire.com. That number again is 407-246-8855.
And now it's time for an interview of an interesting person. Today's is going to be so much fun. Today we have the one, the only, the amazing Jeff Akin.
It's me. It's me. I'm interesting. Who knew?
know.
Wow.
Well, Jeff is a wrestling TV broadcaster turned leadership coach. He teaches leadership with Star Trek. This is going to be fun.
You're right. It is going to be fun. I'm a former TV broadcaster. I don't do it anymore, but Tiberius, leadership, I'm hoping what we can get through here. Leadership is fun. It's a lot of fun, and that's what we're going to do right now.
Nice. So first off, how are you enjoying being on the show?
This is a blast. I love everything you do here. And seriously, I'm on a show talking about a book with Among Us, which literally is a book I need to read. So, yeah, I'm having a great time.
Wow. Okay, so I have to ask. It says that you work from the state of Oregon with some administration programs. But how is that how you became a leadership coach?
You know, kind of. So I think first, when we talk about leadership, and I'm excited about one of the last segments of your show because you often talk about leadership in there. But the reality is that leadership it has to be defined, right? And leadership is about influencing people, persuading them to do things. And I like to think about influencing and persuading them to do things that are bigger and better than what they thought they could do in there. And so I worked as a manager for a long time. And I learned in that time that just because you're a manager doesn't mean you're a leader necessarily. And so I wanted to be a leader. I wanted to make people do better and be great at what they do. And so, yeah, I think my work with the state of Oregon and then working with other organizations is really what helped mold me into a leader. And then I learned that it was really cool to help other people be leaders too. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, can you explain to my listeners what a leadership coach is?
Yeah, absolutely. So this sounds so terrible to say, right? But leadership. I have a great friend who says that leadership is a people business. It's just working with people, and the sad thing is that's often hard for us to do. And so, as a leadership coach, I help people kind of clear their own emotional and mental fog that they might have in their brain. Sometimes we don't believe that we're capable of things that we are capable of, or sometimes we just need to bounce an idea off somebody else. And so I'm that person where someone can bring a difficult leadership situation to me or a self-development situation. I can ask them really challenging questions, make them think differently about what they're doing, and then hopefully perform better as a leader.
Mm-hmm. So it says in your bio that you use Star Trek to teach leadership skills. How does that work?
So years ago, I started managing in this program, and it was rough. So you don't know about like work meetings very much. No. So work meetings are the worst. They're terrible. And the leadership team I worked with met every single day for 2 hours every day, and they talked about the same thing. And one day I just had enough, and I was like, you know what? I want meetings like Captain Kirk has meetings. Issue, discussion, decision, and action. Boom, 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 boom. And then I realized, oh my goodness, Star Trek is not only an amazing show, but it has really great lessons in it as well that can teach us how to be leaders. So I'll take, like I talked about being a leadership coach in those leadership situations, and I'll think of situations in a Star Trek show. And I'll be like, hey, what would Captain Kirk do in this situation?
Smart.
Yeah, and then what is cool about that is people can relate to it. Like it makes sense to them. Like, oh yeah, I know Captain Kirk. I know what Kirk does, and I would do this thing. And so then we get to have a talk about Captain Kirk that then applies to that person. It helps them receive the lessons better.
Cool. So how'd you get started in becoming a leadership coach?
Honestly, I kind of fell into it. I was just working as a manager, and then people were coming to me for advice or needed some mentorship. And then I realized I really, really love I really love doing this. And through that, I ended up starting my own podcast where I could do this for everyone and really talk about Star Trek and help people learn great leadership and life lessons through
Smart.
Star Trek. Yeah.
So how long have you been doing this?
Well, doing leadership, I've been doing leadership since I was about 3 or 4 years old. So I've been doing this professionally as a leadership coach and as a manager for about 20 years. But I think I've been developing my leadership skills since I could walk or talk. And I think that's an important thing. And I'm going to kind of piggyback on the heart of a lion for you. I'm not going to give away the end. I'm going to let you do that. But leadership is a thing we can learn at any age and develop at any time. You are developing your leadership skills all the time and becoming a strong leader. And I think that's a thing that anyone can do. So how long have I been doing a leadership coach thing? 20 years. Podcast, 2 years. Leadership, my whole life.
Smart. So how did you know that this was the go-to job for you?
Have you ever done anything, Tiberius, and when you do it, you just like, this is right? Like you know it's just the right thing for you? No, it'll happen. It'll come. But there's times in life where you do a thing and it just, everything feels right. It's like when you hear the perfect song, right? And it just like the beat's good and the music's good and everything just kind of makes sense in there. That's what leadership coaching is for me. Like everything just lines up and it feels right. It's the right tempo. It's the right beats per minute, the right key. And it just jams and it feels good. I think when I finish a session with somebody in coaching, when I release an episode of my podcast, when I get feedback on that, the feeling that I get of accomplishment, like really making a difference, that's how I know this was for me.
So how is being a leadership coach a benefit to the world?
Star Trek. Okay, so here's the thing about Star Trek. I'm looking up here on the walls, and you've got all this Star Wars stuff up here. And I'll be fair. I'm not offended. I'm not offended. It's okay. You can like both. Only a little offended because you know what I do, and you still have the Star Wars stuff up here. But seriously, it's cool, and it's really neat Star Wars stuff. That looks awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that is cool. I like the Death Star trench one here the best. But
Nice.
but I think that what Star Trek does that not a lot of other science fiction or TV does is it shows us a future that is better, that is more hopeful. And I think that being a leadership coach helps the world be a better place because I want that future that Star Trek paints for us in the world. And we need strong leaders to get us there. We need people who aren't afraid to ask challenging questions. We need people that are going to support people through really hard times, you know, kind of like the times we're all experiencing right now. So as a leadership coach, I get to be a part, even if it's a small part, of helping people be stronger leaders to get us to that better future that Star Trek paints for us.
Mm-hmm. So where'd you get the idea of to mix like StarFleet with leadership?
Well, it really was that moment in that meeting when I just had enough and I wanted those Captain Kirk meetings in there. But once I had that thought, I went and I watched Star Trek, which is that would have happened whether I had the meeting or not. I pretty much always watch Star Trek. But I started watching it, like looking for real examples of leadership in there. And I found them. I found so many. I've been able to talk about dominant toxic cultures. I've been able to talk about lean and Six Sigma and DMAIC. Those are things that probably don't mean anything to you. They're things you get to when you get into work. And a lot of people think they're boring. I think they're super awesome. But I've been able to talk about all those cool things, communication, performance reviews, right? And coaching, all because of Star Trek.
So what was the one thing that you learned about yourself while doing your work?
That's a really good question. Because I think for me, what I've learned about me and about leadership is that leadership is about knowing and managing yourself, right? Being aware of who you are and your emotions that you have at the time, being able to regulate them, being able to show compassion and have empathy in really tough situations. And what I've learned is that for me to help other people, I really have to focus and make myself, I have to make myself better so I can help other people be better.
Mm-hmm. So does it take a lot of formal training to be able to become a leadership coach?
Not really. Actually, formal training, no. Now, there are people out there who are going to try and sell, like if you wanted to be a leadership coach, they're going to try and sell you programs and certifications, and they all cost like $10,000 or $20,000, and they have a lot of great information in them. But the reality is you just need to, kind of like I was saying a moment ago, focus on yourself, develop yourself, and then learn how to ask really good and challenging questions. That's what makes a really strong leadership coach.
Smart. So what is the best part about being a leadership coach?
Oh gosh, without question, watching people do amazing things. So I have a person that I've been coaching for a couple of years now, and they were not in a leadership position when I first started working with them. They worked in IT, and they were doing a really great job in IT, what they were doing, but they wanted to do more. And I had this amazing moment just a couple months ago before the time we're recording this. They got a position as the chief information officer for a company. So they're the top IT person for this company. And I mean, I had a hand in that, right? And oh my gosh. That's so rewarding to watch people do amazing things.
Mm-hmm. So do you ever get any actors from Star Trek to join your class?
I haven't. There are some that probably should join my class out there. I'm a huge William Shatner fan. Captain Kirk's the best, and Shatner's been in space. How cool is that, right?
Well, I mean, if you're going to get any of the actors from Star Trek and talk about leadership, which would you want to meet?
Well, wow, who would I want to meet? Well,
Data.
Brent Spiner's the actor for Data. I would love to meet Data. What would you ask Data if Data walked in here right now? What would you ask him?
Can you help me with my math homework?
That's good. He'd probably do it too. No, I would love to meet Avery Brooks. He was the captain on Deep Space Nine. I don't think you ever saw Deep Space Nine. No, he's so amazing. But I'll tell you that if one character from Star Trek could come and take my courses, be a coaching thing, it would be
James T. Kirk.
No, dude, James T. Kirk is great. He's awesome. It's Captain Archer from Enterprise. That guy. Seriously, listen to any of my Starfleet Leadership Academy episodes on Enterprise. Captain Archer, that guy needs some serious. And those are fighting words, I know, for some people out there. People like him. Scott Bakula plays him. He's great. But yeah, Archer needs some help. And I'm willing to give it. Happy to do that.
Well, what's the hardest part about being a leadership coach?
I think the hardest part is the emotional investment that you put into it, right? You really want people to be successful and you want them to do well. And it takes a lot of compassion and a lot of empathy. And for me, just kind of handling and processing all those emotions can be really exhausting sometimes. It's rewarding. It's good. It helps me grow, but it's never easy. It's never easy to take other people's trauma or their emotion. You become a part of that, and then you help them kind of process through it. Yeah, I think that's probably the hardest part.
So what is one thing that would make your job easier?
I think that if more people understood that leadership is not about telling people what to do. Leadership is about going first. Leadership is about taking the risks so other people don't have to. And leadership is about influencing people to do more. I spend a lot of time really helping people kind of work through that. Like if you came to me and you were like, hey, I keep telling these people to do stuff and they're not listening to me. I'd be like, yeah, because you're not being a leader in there. And if people understood that when we come in the door, that would save us hours of work. Yeah.
Well, what advice would you give to my listeners if they wanted to grow up and teach leadership?
Well, first, listen to and subscribe to the Starfleet Leadership Academy. It's a great way to learn about leadership. Not that I'm biased there in any way, but also just really take that time to invest in yourself. Read really good books on leadership. Watch TED Talks, things like that. There's a lot out there where you can learn about leadership, see good examples. But the number one thing after listening to my podcast, of course, is to find a coach or a mentor yourself and work with them. Like me, exactly, with me, or anyone you're comfortable with. Because that's another piece about being a leadership coach. Sometimes it's not a good fit. Sometimes, we might get along, but we don't necessarily work well together. Or we might not get along. That happens sometimes too. That's true.
Mm-hmm. So you started as a wrestling broadcaster. Do you still ever cover any events?
I don't. For me, the organizations I was working with they took a hiatus when COVID started, and only one of them has started back up. And really, honestly, my life took a different course after COVID started.
After COVID, yeah.
Yeah, and I loved
COVID really took down a lot of people.
Seriously.
Especially when it started.
Yeah, it was awful when it
now
started.
A whole lot of people are vaccinated now.
Yeah, exactly. Things are so much better.
But then the people who have boosters are more
Right.
non-protected because now there's a new COVID variant. So,
right. It just keeps going. But no, for me, COVID really put a kibosh on a lot of wrestling out there. And during, I've kind of stopped a lot of it. Yeah, stopped a lot of it. And in the time in there, my life kind of took a different direction. I focused on my podcast and my coaching. And I loved working in professional wrestling. Loved it. But I think at this point in my life, I'm just doing other stuff.
Mm-hmm. So when you were a kid, what did you want to do when you grew up? Did you always know that you were going to love Star Trek?
I did. So I knew I was going to love Star Trek because I watched it with my mom, and it was a really special thing we had together. In fact, she passed away in May of 2020. She had a stroke, and the last thing that she and I ever got to do together was watch an episode of Star Trek. It's a special thing that I'll always have together. But I knew as a kid that I wanted to be on Star Trek, right? But barring that, the two things I wanted to do, I wanted to be a professional wrestler, and I knew I wanted to help people. I didn't know that was leadership yet, but I knew I somehow wanted to help other people.
Mm-hmm. So what is the one message that you want to get out to the kids all over the world about leadership? Start
learning right now. I mean, leadership is such an important thing. You're never too young to start learning. And some of the things you can work on as a young person with leadership is how to have compassion, like how to care about how other people feel, how to have empathy, right, to kind of mirror and understand how people are feeling. And the big one is how to be humble, how to have humility, and understand that we're all just people. No one is better than anyone else. We just bring different tools to the table. So if anybody out there that's listening who wants to start developing as a leader, get those three things down: compassion, empathy, and humility. You're going to pave the road to being a great leader.
I don't know how we're going to fit that on the gravestone, but
we can just have a really big gravestone.
Yeah. Well, I run a radio show and podcast that talks about God, J-Man Lion's Drug segment. How do you include God's message in your work?
I think that my message and my work is really completely in alignment with God's message and God's word. When God sent his only son onto earth for us, he did so to show us that no one person is better than anyone else. He did so to show that we, the first shall be last and the last shall be first, right? And so by being a servant, that we're able to help everyone be better. In fact, I like to think of being a leader as the moment before the Last Supper when Jesus stopped and he washed the feet of his apostles. At the time, that was like the lowest of the low to do that. And for him to do that that's the model of good leadership.
Mm-hmm, that is. So what was the first job that you ever had?
First job I ever had was stocking toys in the toy department at Shopko during Christmas. It's everything that you would imagine. It was a nightmare and horrible. It was a terrible first job. Don't ever get that job.
Well, was there anything you learned from that job that helped you be a better leadership coach?
Oh gosh, that's such an insight. There's something I've learned in every job that I've had that has helped me be a better leadership coach. But here's the thing. Most of what I've learned is because of the opposite, right? So I've watched a leader or a manager do something really bad, and I've learned, I'm never going to do that. I had a job washing dishes, and I wash dishes. I'm in the back. No one sees me. And they had a rule about shaving, and the boss comes in, he hands me a razor one day. I'm 16 years old, and he's like, you need to shave. And I'm like, I wash dishes, dude. So I learned if I was out front working with the customers eating, okay, maybe I need to but I'm washing dishes, man. Lay off. Be cool.
Yeah. So what's the craziest thing that has happened while you were doing your passion?
Well, this is one of them, being here on the Tiberius Show. But right, that's good stuff. No, honestly, I think the craziest thing that ever happened is I've had the opportunity to work with some elected officials and provide consulting and coaching for them. And some of the things that happen in those meetings around disaster planning or things like that, is pretty wild stuff. Uninteresting, really. You tell the story and people are like, well, that's not very interesting. But I don't know. It's wild to me, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so you run a podcast like me. Can you tell me about what's about?
Absolutely. It's the StarFleet Leadership Academy. You can find it anywhere you get podcasts. But what I do is I watch an episode of Star Trek, and then I pull out like leadership lessons in there. And then I share them in a way that people can understand.
Single one?
There's over 820 of them right now. I'm going to be doing this for a while.
I'm only on show 180 right now.
Yeah, there's a lot more. Yeah, there's a lot. I'm going to be doing this for a long time. But what's cool is I have this random generator.
Only 2 years?
I've been running for 2 years.
I've been doing this
far.
for 3.
Yeah, you have a lot more episodes than I do. I have a long ways to go still. And, but it's great. I'm going to keep doing this. But I have this random generator that tells me what episode I'm going to watch next. I go and I watch it, then I'm like, ooh, I can teach that. Oh, I can get that. And then I get to put it out there. It's a lot of fun. I love it.
Do they still make Star Trek stuff?
They do. Yeah, in fact, this is 2022, and there's going to be a new episode of Star Trek every week through at least July of this year. It's a lot of Star Trek. And I'm here for it.
Oh, yeah. So who helped motivate or inspire you the most in following your dreams?
It's kind of a cliche, but honestly, my parents, my mom and my dad, they believed in me, right? And always knew that I could do great things. My mom passed away, but my dad's still here, and he's still such a great supporter. So
Does he like Star Trek?
He does not, but he likes that I like it, right? He appreciates that. Yeah. He's more of a Star Wars guy, and that's fine. I don't hold it against him.
Unlike us. I'm kidding. So what was the biggest mistake you ever made, and how did it change you as a person?
Oh my gosh.
Hard question.
That is a hard question. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life.
Same as I.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And this is
Everyone makes mistakes.
Everybody does. And here's the thing. If you're not making mistakes, you're not living life.
Lucky you.
You're not trying. Well, I don't think lucky you. I think poor you.
Yeah.
Mistakes are where we learn how to do things better and get better. I think that one of the biggest mistakes I ever made in my life was, one that comes to mind is I was working as a manager for a movie theater company, which sounds kind of cool. It was actually a cool job. But there was a person there who desperately wanted to be a manager. They wanted it so badly, and they were a nice person. They were a cool person. I wanted them to feel good, but I wasn't a mature enough leader to know that it's more kind and more beneficial to be honest with people. So I kind of shined them on. I kind of kept telling them, yeah, you'll become I'll put in the recommendation. I'll do it. And then I never did. They actually never found out that I was lying to them the whole time. But I was.
What if they're listening to the show right now?
Then they know. And honestly, if they are listening to the show, I would love for them to reach out to me because I want to tell them I'm sorry. Because what I learned about that is kind of what I said. It's me wanting to make that person feel better actually made them worse, right? It made them think they were going to get a thing they weren't going to get. It was really unkind of me. And it was very selfish of me. I did it thinking I was being nice, but I wasn't, And I think what I've learned since then is that being honest with people is actually much more kind than not in there. And it's not always easy to be honest with people.
Okay, so when you're not working with broadcasting and coaching, what do you do for fun?
I love hanging out with my daughter. She's 6 years old. She's one of the coolest people I know. We play video games, we watch TV, and we play music together. I'm a drummer. I've been playing drums for, since I was 8 years old. Long time. And so she'll play along with me or whatever. And then...
With what instrument?
She'll play with... So we have drums, we have bass, we have a guitar, and we have a keyboard, piano. And so she kind of hops around on all of them, tickles the ivories, as it were, right? Do you play piano?
No, not really, but I do have a keyboard.
Yeah, it's super
I
fun.
can make some music, but...
It's awesome.
I just made it up on my own.
Yeah? That's pretty cool. Maybe someday you could record a record. How cool would that be? Do they call them records anymore? Or did I just make myself an old guy by saying record?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I did.
If you say CD, no.
Yeah,
You're
not
probably in
anymore.
like your 60s.
Yeah, no, CDs would. Yeah, you'd be not quite your 60s yet. But that's okay. That's okay. I'll let that one. I'll let that one slide.
So, do you play video games? And if you do, what's your favorite one?
I do play video games. My favorite one of all time, and I know it's just hitting triple A's, and some people have feelings there. And I'm not that old, man. Wow. You're playing rough. No, my favorite video games of all time are the Mass Effect series. I love Mass Effect. You don't know Mass Effect? Well, maybe someday you will.
I'm too late for this.
Yeah, maybe. They're great. But, I think one of the games I've loved for a long time is Civilization, and the Civilization games. I just kind of finishing a run on Civ 6.
Kind of like Supreme Commander and stuff like that.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, sort of like that kind of stuff.
Games.
Strategy games, yeah.
Like chess.
I love chess.
How many people have you, checkmated?
More than I can think. I don't know. Probably not a lot. I've probably been checkmated a lot more than I've checkmated anybody.
So, okay. Now, can you tell me that one story? Remember, this is a kid show. But that one story, well, that you're not supposed to tell me about. Come on, you can tell me.
Wow. Okay, let me think about this. I got to think a little bit. That one story, keeping in mind that this is a kid's show that no one's supposed to know about. Here's one. So, back in the late 90s, which for you was like 200 or 300 years ago, probably, like in your mind, right? Like we actually had telephones. We didn't just chisel stuff away at that point. But in the late 90s, I was in a band, and we toured up and down the West Coast.
Late 90s is like 1990s.
Yeah, would have been like 1990.
3,000 years ago.
Yeah, 1998. It's like 3,000 years ago. Yeah, give or take on there. But yeah, so we're driving down into Tucson, Arizona, and we got a flat tire in the middle of nowhere, and we ended up stranded in a desert for 4 days, and our guitar player went walking in. So back then we didn't have we didn't have cell phones, and we didn't have GPS, and so we just said, hey, what if you started walking that direction? And what I'll say, keeping in mind that this is a kids show, is the rest of us in the band had to make some decisions to stay alive. And we didn't eat each other or anything like that. It wasn't that bad. But being a rock star sounds super fun and cool. It can be a not fun situation sometimes, and that was definitely a not fun situation.
Is there anything that you think my listeners should know about you?
I think we've really covered most everything. I think the most interesting thing about me is how much I love Star Trek. But I have really cool social media and stuff. That's a lot of fun.
Well, what is it?
Well, you can follow me pretty much anywhere at Jeff T. Akin. I'm on the Facebook. I'm on the Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff.
Do you have a website?
I do, JeffAkin.com.
Almost everyone makes a website just says their name.com.
Yeah, it's pretty great, and then you can have cool email addresses and stuff. Like someday you can have one, or do you already have one? That's your name, Tiberius Show. Your last name's not Show though. No. Maybe it could be. Maybe.
So, what is the one question that you think I forgot to ask you?
I think you asked a lot of the great questions, but I think the best question to ask me is Star Trek a good way to teach leadership?
Well, is it?
It is. And I think especially, and here's the thing that I've learned too, you don't even have to like Star Trek for it to be a good way, because it's just science fiction, right? And I think there's a lot of principles. Sci-fi, is that what it's called now? You're just going to make me like, I'm old, dude. I'm old. That's me. Hi. Thanks for that. That's cool though. No, seriously though, it's check me out. Look how hip I am. It's sci-fi. Is that good? Is that better? Okay, it's sci-fi. And people can relate to the stuff that happened in there. And I think it's a lot better. There's books out there like the 36 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And they're all great laws, but who's going to remember 36 of them? But you know what? A lot of people can remember what Captain Kirk did in The Trouble with Tribbles. That's why it's good. That's why it works.
Well, thank you, Jeff, for being my special guest. Can you stick around for Math Corners?
We'll always stick around for math.
Tiberius' favorite subject, it's Math Corners!
Well, now it's time for Math Corners. Thank you, Jeff, for helping me with Math Corners. Today, we're going to talk about monomials. This is going to be fun.
I don't know what those are, so I am really excited to learn from you today.
Yay.
I do leadership, dude, not math. So this is going to be great.
So we have been talking a lot about algebra lately, and today, it's no different. Well, monomials are defined as an algebraic expression with only one term. You know, though, if you don't remember, mono means one. So this term can be a number, a variable, or the product of a number and a variable with an exponent. If you remember, the number part of this type of term is called a coefficient.
Coefficient. I knew that. It's good. Okay, this is good.
Now this means that if you have 6x to the third power, that would be a monomial. Or basically 6x cubed. So there's no addition or subtraction or division, but it's just in the one term. Monomial cannot have a variable in the denominator or have a negative exponent. So, if you had the expression 3 over 5k to the 8th power, that would still be a monomial because a fraction is a coefficient and it is not a division. I guess next week we will have to tackle polynomials.
Wow. So if a monomial is 1, is a polynomial more than 1 or many? Because if it is, I've got my degree. We're good. We just passed algebra, if that's true.
True. So, Jeff, do you now know all about what is a monomial?
Now I do. You did a great job.
Thank you. Well, my teacher says that I will use math every day. Do you have to use math while being a leadership coach?
I do. So
How many people?
I was
What episode?
My teachers told me the same thing. They're like, Jeff, you're going to have to use math every day. I'm like, no, I'm not. No, but they're right. Dude, you do have to use math every single day. Mostly I use mine for budgeting or for tracking different things and stuff like that. But yeah, math's a thing.
Which makes sense.
It does. And it makes dollars and cents. Yeah, I went there. Thanks. Yeah, haha.
That's a good pun. Well, thank you so much, Jeff, for your help with Math Corners.
You're welcome, Tiberius. Thanks for having me for it. I am smarter just for having been here.
Over 40 years, Lighthouse Central Florida has provided education, independent life skills, and job training to thousands of Central Floridians who live with blindness or any degree of vision loss. Whether it's picking out clothes in the morning or just moving around your community and serving Orange, Seminole, and Osceola counties, contact Lighthouse Central Florida at 407-898-2483 or visit them online at lighthousecfl.org.
And now it's time for the Heart of the Lion. As you know, we talk about the qualities of living by the Heart of the Lion, which stands for leadership, integrity, obedience, and nobility. Well, this week we're going to talk about leadership, of course. Well, for me, I think leadership is the act of loving what is good, having self-control, and being disciplined. The qualities of leadership are providing guidance and direction, organization, and being a positive influence on others. So this week, I saw leadership with my school. They had a step-up day to get us ready for middle school. We got to visit the classes for larger grades, and even see the electives. I really enjoyed the coding and robotics class, my fave. Well, this is providing guidance and direction and showing us what to expect for next year. Also, they told me that coding is in the fall for like the first semester, and robotics is in the second semester. So I might want to do both. So this will help in being organized so that we are better prepared to be successful. So Jeff, did you see or use leadership at all this week?
I hope. If I don't see leadership in a week, I'm not doing my job. But I'll tell you a way that I saw it and that really I think lines up with what you were talking about, right? And helping people, they're helping you see what's coming, right? Getting you prepared for what's coming. And that's the thing I was able to do just this week where we have some really big changes coming up in an organization that I help support, some really big changes coming. And so myself and a small group, well, it's because of COVID, we're having to make some changes. And I think that's the thing a lot of organizations are doing.
Your manager got cold
in there, but we were able to take our team and show them and talk about what's going to happen here in the future so that when we do get there, they're prepared for it and not surprised. And I think that's a really, really important job for a leader.
Yeah, how to do this?
Exactly. It's scary. It's fun to be surprised, like on your birthday or something.
Like something like that.
Yeah.
But when it's...
Yeah, what if you showed up to school like tomorrow and they're like, oh, you don't go to school here anymore. You go to school in this underground bunker. It'd be scary. But if they told you about it a week out, you might feel a little bit better.
Okay. Well, of all of the Heart of a Lion virtues, which is your favorite?
Well, it'd be easy for me to answer leadership, right? We've been talking about it this whole time, but honestly, my favorite is integrity. My favorite is integrity because it's integral, right? It's important of all the other virtues. And I think that even if someone's not a great leader and they have integrity, they're still being a good person. And really, Tiberius, that's what we're all here to do, right? Be good people.
We should always try and be line strong in everything we do, shouldn't we?
Absolutely. In everything that we do.
And that's our show, folks. I don't think it's on the amazing Jeff Akin for being on my show. It has been so much fun talking with you today. Maybe one day I will get to sit in on one of your classes or be on your podcast.
I kind of like both of those ideas. Tiberius, thank you for having me on your show. This has been such a cool experience. And if your listeners want to, again, they can follow me at Jeff T. Akin. That's Jeff T, as in Tiberius, Akin, or online at jeffakin.com.
Also, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at The Tiberius Show. And please be sure to visit The Tiberius Show on YouTube and subscribe. Also, be sure to listen to us next week on The Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius. Bye!